Like, it'd be funny if I just farted right here and he heard me. He'd look over at me and we'd make eye contact and we would giggle, right? Hey everybody. I want to do something a little bit different on the channel today and talk about, well, my childhood. And before streaming was a thing, before we had instant access to the internet, and before everything was really cheap, before we can get anything we wanted at our fingertips at any given time, we had to go physically drive places and get them. There's this company called, well, it was called Blockbuster. And I just wanted to, discuss my time with Blockbuster growing up and what it meant to me. So in my family, going to Blockbuster was a pretty big deal. It's not something we did all the time. It was kind of like going to McDonald's, or it was a special treat. It wasn't something we got every Friday or every weekend. I would say we'd rent a movie once every 3 to 6 months, or a video game, right? As this is a video game channel, but Blockbuster is kind of that all-encompassing video game rental and a movie rental store. So I just wanted to talk about a couple stories that I had as a kid growing up. So one of my first stories is renting games for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And the one I remember the most is renting Battletoads. Now, I don't know why we always wanted to rent Battletoads, because we could never get past like the third level like every other kid. But we just loved playing those first 3 levels of Battletoads. And I don't know why my parents just didn't buy me the game. If we're going to Blockbuster and we're going to get a game, it's probably a 60% chance we're getting Battletoads. And I don't know why we didn't just get the game. I also remember one of my earliest memories, period, is renting The Rocketeer. This is before I was even 5 years old. I remember playing The Rocketeer with my older brother and going through the stages, and then watching the AVGN talk about The Rocketeer years later. It really hit some nostalgia with me, so that was really cool to see. But that's just talking about the games. I want to talk about stories of Blockbuster and how that meant to me. So in the footage you're seeing right behind me is the Blockbuster I went to as a kid. And this store is no longer there, like all but one Blockbuster. But I used to go to this one all the time. So just finding this picture on the internet for me is big nostalgia. I had gotten my driver's license in high school, and I was able to drive. I was able, when you get your driver's license, obviously you're able to drive after that, right? So yes, potatoes are allowed to drive. I know it sounds weird, but I would drive myself, my little brother, up to Blockbuster because my mom had purchased us, or the family, I think it's called the movie Freedom Pass or something. Basically, for the whole summer, you could rent as many movies as you want, but you can only bring like 1 or 2 movies home. It's kind of similar to what Netflix was doing at the time, where there was a time when you couldn't just click on Netflix and stream. You had to go online, select what movies you wanted, and they would mail you the movies, and you'd get them in these paper cardboardy little envelopes, and you get 1 or 2 at a time, and depending on your package you bought would depend on how many movies you can have and how long you would have them. So Blockbuster did one where if you come and pick up 2 movies, you can bring them home, watch those 2 movies in the same day. If you want to go get 2 more, you can. So they're trying to get the one up on Netflix, saying, oh, hey, we're here. You can come and get whatever movies you want. You don't have to wait in the mail. Okay, that was their gimmick. My mom bought the Blockbuster one for my brother and I, and the family. But let's be real, it was really for me and my brother. And like I said, I just had my driver's license. So we would drive up, him and I, going and getting a movie almost every single night just because I could. Anything that was new release, I watched. Any old movie I had watched. And that was a really cool experience. Me first learning how to drive. Obviously, I knew how to drive, but newer at driving. And one of my first times being able to get out of the house without my parents looking over my shoulder, just my brother and I, going to go get movies. That was pretty neat. But I want to talk about my last memory of Blockbuster and the last time I was in a Blockbuster. Now, I moved away from my parents. At this point in my life, I was living in Southern California, and my brother came to visit. My brother still with my parents in Chicago area, and so he flew out and he hung out with myself and my girlfriend, now wife, for a week. And well, you don't know, California is very expensive, especially for somebody in their early 20s. And then for a high school kid, there's not really too much you can do, or it's not really too much hiking and surfing you can do every single day without getting bored and tired, and you're just worn out. So one day we decided to go, well, to Blockbuster, because that was our thing when we were kids, and there was a local one just around the corner, just away from my office. So as soon as the three of us walk into this Blockbuster, we all have different missions. And I was just looking for a movie to watch. My wife went off some direction, and so did my brother. Well, I like going to the new releases and seeing what's there. There's a big wall in the back, and I head that way. Well, I heard my stomach kind of turn over, this little in my stomach. Was standing there looking at the movies. Nothing really big was happening. I didn't need to go to the bathroom or nothing, but I did have to fart. And I'm looking straight at the movies, and out of the corner of my eye, I see my brother. He's standing about, I don't know, 10, 15 feet away from me. Like, it'd be funny if I just farted right here and he heard me. He'd look over at me and we'd make eye contact and we would giggle, right? That's what I thought. So I let it go, and I wasn't trying to be quiet about it. If anything, I was trying to be extra loud about it. So I let this fart go as well as I could without messing my pants. And I grin and I start to look over at my brother. And as I do so, I lock eyes with a stranger that I thought was my brother. So the man standing 10 to 15 feet away from me was not my brother. It was another grown-ass man who looked back at me without a grin. He looked at me in absolute disgust. And me being me, I just laughed because I was incredibly nervous about it. Didn't know what to say or do. So I laughed and I walked away. And then I went over and found my brother and my wife, and I then told them the story, giggled about it, and then we got our movies and left. So that was my last memory of going to a Blockbuster. My early childhood to renting NES games to well, making myself look like a complete idiot the last time I ever went to Blockbuster. But I miss Blockbuster. I don't think I'd use it as much as I think I would. However, I still enjoy the idea of Blockbuster, still having the option of going out, seeing the movies, and physically holding them, bringing them home, and watching them, and having that responsibility of bringing it back on time so you don't get those late fees. But just the idea of what Blockbuster was and what Blockbuster was for me as a kid, the fact that Blockbuster is no more, it's sad. It's the end of an era, and it was the beginning of the death of physical media. And now here we are in the digital world where all of us collectors are fighting to collect as things are getting harder and harder to find. Well, I hope you all enjoyed myself going down memory lane here, telling a story. If you'd like to, in the comments, tell me what you thought of Blockbuster, if you miss it, your favorite memories, your favorite video games you rented, and I hope you all have a great day.